Okay, this is Sadie, who I was calling a different name throughout the session, but her name is Sadie. This is Cooper, and Clover has found something there, and she's out chewing on it somewhere else. Now, this little guy right here likes to bark like there's no tomorrow. She thinks that she's running the show, and she's getting more aggressive with the other dogs. She's not an aggressive dog, but when there's food around, she goes after the other dogs because she wants to protect the food. She wants to try to get it all for herself. As a result, he is kind of insecure. Not only because of that, but I think also because he thinks it's his job to be in charge of security because he doesn't have any rules. So he thinks he's doing us a favor by barking and letting us know somebody's at the door, somebody's walking by the yard or whatever it is. And then if we don't listen to him, that makes him stressed out because we're not listening, so he barks even louder. And then the more that he barks and the more we don't listen, the more stressed out he gets. This is partially why he hides underneath the couch and underneath things and barks and runs away. He won't even run and bark at people on the street. He barks from the porch. So in order to do that, the reason for that is because the dogs really didn't have any rules or boundaries. And so they consider themselves to have the same authority as the humans. So then listening to the humans is optional to them. So I normally would disagree with him licking me, but we're keeping him on the shot, so we're going to allow it. But when a dog licks you a lot, that can be a third way of marking. So the way that we're going to fix these problems is by basically starting to incorporate rules and boundaries and structure so the dogs start to see themselves as having not as much authority as the humans. One of the first rules that we went over is no furniture. For dogs, the higher they sit, the more rank or authority they have. Letting dogs sit at the same height as us is one of the ways we say we are equals, but we're not. So no furniture for a minimum of 30 days. And then at the end of, and that's the minimum of 30 days. But as long as she's still being mean to the other dogs, she should not be allowed on the couch or any furniture. As long as he's barking like it's a superpower, he should not be allowed on the couch. Chloe, we don't want to have one dog have different rules than the other, so I would make it across the board. Now, once we get past, maybe it's 2 months or 3 months, and the dogs are now behaving well, she's not attacking the other dogs, he's not barking, then we could give them permission to get on the furniture with permission, one-time exception, and only for good behavior. So I invited Sadie up here, and then she growls at Cooper as he walks by. She has to get down on the couch. Now, in that capacity, I would maybe make her get down and hold her collar so she doesn't immediately go after him. But it should be a one-time exception for good behavior. Or if I invite Cooper up, he gets up, and then he goes and gets a drink of water. When he comes back, he would need permission to get back up on the couch. This way, the humans are in charge of it, and the dogs are a visitor or a guest, and they're asking versus taking. I also like everyone in the family to start practicing what I call petting with a purpose. Petting our dogs is our way of paying the dog. Right now, anytime the dog jumps in our lap, the humans are petting them. So that creates petulance in the dogs and tells the dogs, I can tell the humans what to do. I'm not just equal with the humans. I boss them around and they listen to me. So I have dominion over them. And that's part of the reason why he thinks he's a security guard, is he wants to contribute to the pack. So from now on, when the dog scratches at us or jumps up on our laps, if it jumps up in your lap, just stand up, and that eliminates the lap and the dog gets down. If you want to pet the dog or the dog scratches at you, tell it to sit. As soon as it sits, I like to pet a dog under its chin and say just the command word, just sit, or just chill if that's the word for down, or just here if that's the word to come. After a while, the dog understands if I tell the human what to do, they don't do it. But if I go and sit politely in front of the human, they'll pet me. Well, I like being petted, so I'm going to start doing that more and more often. This is what we call manding. And instead of just demanding attention, the dogs are going to come and start prepaying for it by coming and sitting in front of us saying, look, I'm sitting, shouldn't you be petting me? Yes, we should. Sit. And we're just going to say the word sit. I'd also like the guardians and the family members to do what I call passive training. That's basically narrating. If the dog comes and sits next to me, I pet it and say sit. If it lays down next to me, I pet it and say chill. If it comes to me, I pet it and say here. Even though I didn't ask it to do any of those things, the end result is still what I'm looking for. And if I provide affection and mark it with a command word, then when I do say here, the dog is more likely to come because it's been associated with getting a reward. Let me see. Other rules, sitting at the door, not being allowed within 7 feet of any humans that are eating food. Also, if the dog runs down the hallway or open through a door or up the stairs ahead of you, for dogs, whoever's in front is considered in the leadership position, whoever's behind is considered in the follower position. So one of the exercises I had the guardian do was to practice leashing the dogs up. He gets very excited when the leash comes out because he's excited for the prospect of a walk. Every time we're leashed, we go for a walk. Well, what we can do is desensitize the dog. So the first thing we do is we went up and walked towards where the leashes were. As soon as the dog walks in front of the human, it says, I'm in charge. We turn around and go sit down and we wait. Wait for the dogs to return to a completely calm, settled frame of mind. Once they're calm, then we get up and walk towards the door, towards where the leashes are again. Anytime the dog walks in front, we turn and walk away. Once we get to the point where we can get to where the leashes are and the dogs stay behind us, the next step is to reach for the leashes. Now, when we get to that point, the dogs started jumping up and whining. So we put the leashes back, went and sat down again. Now, I had a guy in Los Angeles, took 27 times of over an hour to do this, but by the time we finally leashed the dog up, it was completely calm. Now, we also can desensitize them by leashing them up multiple times a day without taking them for a walk. So now, when the leash comes out, is it a drill or is it the real thing? Well, if they go on the drill 4 times for every 1 time they do the real thing, they're less excited about it. And just like us, excited is an unbalanced state of mind for them. So if the dog is overexcited, it's not giving its best. And so the more that we can help the dog achieve a calm, balanced state of mind, the more centered they're going to be, the easier it is going to be for them to listen, and the better behaved they're going to be overall. Right, buddy? Let's see, what else? Escalating consequences. First thing we do is hiss, 1 time per incident. Second thing we do is we stand up, and we turn our hips to face the dog and keep pivoting, keep the dog in front of us until it's stationary. As soon as it's stationary, take a left and right foot back and then stay, and then you can place for a second, then you can go back to doing what you're doing. The third consequence is marching at the dog until it turns sideways to you or greater. The fourth consequence is the leash timeout. So we want to use those consistently so the dog understands that if I start to do the wrong thing, they will warn me not to do it. If I do it anyways, then they're going to correct me. If they do it again, they're going to correct me more sternly. If they do it a 4th time, the leash comes out and I lose all freedom to the house. Petting the dogs, or not petting the dogs, feeding the dogs in structure is going to be really important because she is getting more and more aggressive around her food. She attacked him after feeding and when there are treats that are nearby. So what we're going to do is we're only going to let the dogs in the room 1 at a time. The human is going to move the dogs out of the room first. Then the human's going to put, let's not chew a hole in my shirt. Then the human's going to put food in the bowls, and then we're going to invite the dogs in 1 at a time. I'm guessing that we probably are going to use Chloe first, then Cooper, then Sadie. And we're going to do this in a structured way. So as soon as the dog walks away from the bowl, we pick up the bowl, dump it, put the empty bowl back down, let the dog go and see it's empty. Then it has to leave the area. This helps the dog see that we're in charge, and also sees that that they are eating after the human, because the human's going to eat first because we're in charge. And then the human controls it, and because she's so domineering, we're going to put her in the last position. So that will help boost these guys a little bit into more of a more status position, which should diminish a little bit of her aggressive behavior. But really the main thing is going to be the rules and boundaries. Now the kids were a little bit worried that some of the rules might be considered mean. When she's attacking the other dogs, that is mean, and that will continue to get worse unless we change the dynamic. So enforcing rules, we're not asking them to do anything much. Petting with a purpose. Asking a dog to sit is pretty small. It's not a big deal. It's literally the least we can do. And the more that we do that, the more inclined the dog will be to sit. I'd also like the guardians to get a dog bed, put it underneath the TV, and then practice tossing a treat onto the dog bed. When the dog walks over, the second it touches it with its lips, we're going to say the word office, because that's the word that the kids came up with to honor dad. And we want to come up with fun command words. We're also going to do the same thing over here, because we're going to claim the door as I showed in the other video. Now, another way we can do this, in claiming the door, I just kind of move the dogs away by using the escalating consequences. But we can also train the dogs to go to that spot just by tossing a treat at the spot. When the dog goes over and touches it with its lips, we say spot or place or, welcome, because that's the place we want them to go when guests come. Now, if we have a problem with Sadie going after the other dogs, we can separate the dogs and practice with them 1 at a time until we say spot, and the dog goes right over there. Then we go over there and give the dog the treat and say the word spot the second the treat touches their lips. All right, well, those are the escalating, this is the roadmap to success for Sadie, Cooper, and Chloe. Yes, you're doing very good, buddy. Remember, everything you do trains your dog. Only sometimes you mean it.